Welcome back to the deep dive. We are doing something a little different today.
Yeah, we are.
Usually we're looking at, a specific book or maybe a scientific concept, but today we are tackling a system. And not just any system. We are tackling a beast. I think that is the only fair way to describe it.
It really is a beast. You're absolutely right about that. It's huge.
It's this massive, sprawling, really intimidating machine that literally millions of people try to navigate every single year. It consumes time, it consumes money, and it consumes a lot of emotional energy.
Oh, a ton of it.
Yet, despite how huge it is, so few people actually understand how the gears turn inside it.
It's one of those systems where if you don't have a map, you are almost guaranteed to get lost. It's not just about filling out a form and, hoping for the best.
Right, it's not a lottery.
It isn't a lottery, although it can sometimes feel like one. It's a high-stakes game of strategy, of timing, and even psychology. And frankly, it's a game where the rules aren't always posted on the door. You have to know them before you even walk in.
Exactly. And the beast we are talking about today is the U.S. university admissions process. Specifically for anyone looking to come from outside the U.S. to study there. And for our deep dive today, we are pulling from a source that frames this perfectly. We're looking at the ultimate guide to U.S. university admissions from the channel EnglishVista.
Which is a fantastic resource. Really, really clear.
It is. And what I love about the source material is that it isn't just a dry administrative checklist, step 1, fill out Form 4B. It's not that at all.
Oh, thank goodness.
The hosts of the source material, they have Alex, who plays the role of the enthusiast, and Sarah, who is this incredible expert consultant. They treat their audience like family. That's the vibe.
That family aspect is so crucial.
It is, right. They frame this whole process not just as applying to school, but as a life-changing journey. It goes from that very first thought of maybe I should leave home all the way to actually sitting on the airplane seat, buckling the belt, and taking off.
And that tone completely changes the advice. It moves it from, here are the rigid rules you must follow, to here is how you survive this process without losing your mind.
Yes.
And for our listeners today, the learners out there, whether you're a dreamer looking to study abroad for the first time, or maybe a career changer wanting a master's degree to pivot your life, or honestly, even if you are just someone insanely curious about how global education migration actually works.
Which is fascinating in itself.
It is. This is about decoding a complex system. It's about understanding the machinery behind all the prestige.
It's surprisingly complex. I think the common assumption, and I definitely had this assumption before we started researching this, is that if you have good grades, you get in. Simple as that.
Meritocracy, sure.
Yeah, meritocracy, right. But as we went through this guide, it became very clear that grades are just the entry ticket. They just get you in the door. The real secrets, the things that actually determine if you get that acceptance letter, and more importantly, if you get the scholarship money, lie in things like timing, what the source calls love letters, to universities.
We'll get to those. They're interesting.
And a terrifying 2-minute interview that can ruin everything right at the finish line.
That's the hook right there. You can do everything right academically for 4 years. You can be the top of your class. And then you can lose it all in a 2-minute conversation because you said the wrong sentence.
Or because you applied in January instead of December.
Or because you submitted an application in January instead of December.
Okay.
So the mission for this deep dive is to take that ultimate 30-minute guide from EnglishVista and really unpack the strategy behind it. We want to understand the why behind the advice. Why does the calendar matter so much? Why do they care about your life story? Why is the system built this way?
Okay, so let's start with the vibe of the source material itself, because I think it sets the stage for why this is so stressful. EnglishVista isn't just a channel. They really emphasize that they are a community.
Yeah, that's key.
They focus on advanced English conversation and unlocking global career opportunities. It's this dual focus of speak better and achieve more.
Which makes perfect sense when you think about it. You can't really separate the language skills from the admission success. You have to be able to articulate your value.
That's a great way to put it.
The dynamic in the source material mirrors what we're trying to do here. You have the enthusiast pushing the excitement, let's go to America. And the expert pulling back the curtain on the technical details. Okay, but here's the paperwork.
Exactly.
So we're going to mirror that energy.
Yeah.
We need to break down the timeline, the exams, the paperwork, and of course, the money.
The money, yes. Okay, let's unpack the first major hurdle. And it's funny because this sounds so simple, but it's actually a huge stumbling block.
It really is.
It's understanding the calendar. The source makes a massive point about the semester confusion.
It is a massive point of confusion, and it's understandable. If you are coming from a system in, say, South America or parts of Asia
Yeah.
or Australia, your academic year likely runs January to December
Yeah, it follows the normal calendar.
and aligns with the calendar year.
Yeah.
You finish one grade in December, have a summer break, and start the new year in late January or February. That feels natural.
Right.
The U.S. absolutely does not do that.
It feels completely backward to a lot of the world. So let's clarify the chunks. The source breaks the U.S. academic year into two main semesters. What are they?
Correct. So you have the fall semester and the spring semester. The fall semester usually kicks off in late August or early September.
Okay.
This runs until about mid-December. Then you have a winter break. The spring semester starts in January and runs until May. Then you have the long summer break.
Right, the classic summer break.
Now, here is the critical analogy the source uses, and it's so important. You have to think of fall as the new year for schools.
So, even though it's August, and the year is more than halfway over according to the calendar on my wall, that is the start of the cycle for the university.
Precisely. August is January in the university world. And this leads us to what the source calls the consultant's secret.
I love this part.
This is the kind of advice people usually pay a lot of money to hear, and Sarah, the expert in the source material, gives it away for free. Always, always, always aim for the fall intake.
Okay, let's dig into the why here. I want to really understand this. Why does it matter so much? Is the education better in September than it is in January?
Chuckles, no.
Do the professors get smarter in the autumn? Is the curriculum different?
Absolutely not. The calculus is exactly the same. The history books are the same. The professors are the same people. If you take Intro to Biology in the fall or the spring, you are learning the same biology. The difference is entirely financial and social.
Okay, financial first. That sounds important.
Let's look at the financial logic first, because this is usually the biggest factor for international students. This is about university economics.
Okay, lay it out for me.
Universities operate on annual budgets. They are massive institutions with fiscal years. Those budgets, specifically the scholarship and financial aid budgets, are refreshed and allocated at the start of the academic year,
Which is fall.
which is fall. So let's use an analogy. Imagine a massive buffet dinner. The university puts out all the food, the scholarships, the grants, the assistantships, right at the beginning of the dinner service, which is August.
Okay, so the trays are full, the carving station is open, everything's fresh.
Exactly. Everything is available. There is money for merit scholarships, departmental grants, and specifically those assistantships we will talk about later. Now imagine you wait until the spring intake in January.
You're showing up halfway through dinner.
You are showing up after the first seating is already eaten, the buffet has been picked over.
Oh no!
A huge chunk of that scholarship money has already been promised to the students who arrived in August. It's not that the university doesn't want to give you money in January. It's that the bucket is literally, well, it's a lot emptier.
So the department head might just say, sorry, we're out.
The department chair might say, we'd love to fund you, but we allocated all our lines in September. It's a simple budget reality.
That is a brutally practical reality. So by aiming for spring, you are voluntarily putting yourself in a position where there is simply less funding available. You are competing for scraps.
Basically, yes. And for an international student where the exchange rate might be 80 to 1 or 5 to 1, that funding is the difference between going and staying home. So the New Year concept isn't just symbolic, it's budgetary.
Got it.
If you want someone else to pay for your degree, you have to be in the fall line.
And then there's the social and cultural benefit, which the source also highlights, the experience factor. I assume this is about fitting in.
It is. It's huge. Think about it. Orientation events in the fall are massive productions.
Yeah, you see the pictures online.
We are talking about stadium-sized welcomes sometimes. They're designed to welcome the entire incoming class, thousands of students. Everyone is new. Everyone is looking for friends. Everyone is trying to figure out where the library is and how the laundry machines work.
It's the fresh start energy. Everyone is equally vulnerable in a good way.
Right. There's a bonding that happens in that shared vulnerability. I don't know where to go. You don't know where to go. Let's go together.
Yeah.
If you arrive in spring, you are entering a campus where friend groups have already formed, the cliques are established, clubs are already midway through their projects.
No, that's tough.
You can certainly still make friends. It's not impossible, and people do it every year, but the friction is higher. You are the new kid in a school where everyone else has been there for 5 months. It's so much easier to integrate when everyone else is just as lost as you are.
So fall is the target. That's the strategic goal. August, September. Okay. But this leads us to the next problem, which is the instant myth. I love how the source phrases this. There is this idea that you can just wake up, decide, I want to study in America, and hop on a plane next month.
It's the Amazon Prime mentality applied to education. We are so used to click, buy, receive tomorrow.
Totally.
But the source material is very blunt about this. The U.S. admissions process is a marathon, not a sprint. It is a slow, bureaucratic grind. If you decide today that you want to go, you are not going next month. You probably aren't even going in 6 months.
They threw out a number that honestly shocked me a little bit. They said the magic number for preparation is, what was it, 12 to 15 months?
That sounds about right, yeah. It's over a year of your life dedicated to just getting there.
A year and a half, potentially. Let's walk through the backward planning or the backward math they use to justify this, because I think you really need to visualize the timeline to understand the pressure.
For sure. It makes it real.
Let's say, for the sake of the example, I am a listener and I want to start in the fall intake of 2026. So August 2026 is my target date to be on campus.
Okay, August 2026 is the goal. Let's map it out.
Yeah.
So when do you apply? You might think, oh, maybe May 2026, 3 months before.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Nope.
Most top universities and even mid-tier state schools will close their application portals for international students around December 2025.
December of the year before.
Yes, or maybe early January 2026 at the absolute latest for some places.
Okay, so 8 months before school even starts.
Right, so your deadline is actually December 2025. That's when the submit button disappears. But to submit an application in December, you need to have your exam scores ready.
Right, of course.
You can't take the test the day before the deadline because it takes weeks to get scores sent and processed. So your exams, SAT, GRE, TOEFL, whatever you are taking, need to be finished by October or November 25 at the latest.
Okay, so now we're back to October 2025. That's 10 months before school starts.
And you can't just walk into a GRE or SAT cold. I mean, you can, but you probably won't get the score you need for a scholarship.
No, you'll get crushed.
You need to study. Most people need 3 to 6 months of serious prep to get a competitive score.
So now we're back to, what, April or May of 2025?
We are. And somewhere in there, before you even start studying for the test, you need to research which universities you even want to apply to.
Which takes a ton of time. You have to look at the curriculum, the city, the cost, the professors.
The culture of the department.
Yeah.
All of it. So suddenly that 15-month timeline makes perfect sense.
Wow.
You basically have to start researching a full year and a half before you ever set foot in a classroom. If you want to go in 2026, you better be working on it in early 2025.
It creates a situation where you are living in the future. You are working frantically in early 2025 for a payoff that doesn't happen until late 2026.
It does.
It requires a lot of discipline because there is no immediate reward. You are just grinding on vocabulary words and filling out forms.
It demands delayed gratification. And you know what? That is part of the filter. The system weeds out the people who aren't serious enough to plan that far ahead.
That's a great point. Let's talk about those gatekeepers you mentioned, the exams. The source calls this the point where stress levels usually spike. And I get it. Standardized testing is a nightmare for most people.
It is.
I still have nightmares about high school math tests.
It's the great filter. And it differs depending on your education level, so it's important to know which beast you are fighting.
Right. So let's break it down. For the high schoolers listening, or the parents of high schoolers who are trying to get into a bachelor's program undergraduate, we are talking about the SAT or the ACT.
Correct. Those are the standard entrance exams for undergrad.
But there is a really interesting nuance here that the source brings up regarding the post-COVID world. We hear a lot about schools going test optional. It's in the news all the time. Harvard goes test optional. University of California drops the SAT.
This is a classic trap for international students, a massive trap. You see test optional on the website and you think, great, I hate tests. I won't take it. I'll just send my grades. And technically that is allowed. Test optional means the university does not require the test to admit you. They will read your application without it.
So why is it a trap? What's the catch?
Because optional does not mean don't do it if you're an international student who wants funding.
Ah, that's the key, right? Funding.
Exactly. Put yourself in the shoes of an admissions officer. You are sitting in an office in Ohio. You have an applicant from a high school in Iowa. You know that high school. You know the principal. You know exactly what an A means at that school.
You have context.
You have context. Then you get an applicant from a high school in a rural town in Brazil or a city in India, or a village in Vietnam, you have never heard of this school. You don't know if an A there means the same thing as an A in Iowa. It's hard to compare. Is this student a genius, or is the school just easy?
You have no way of knowing for sure.
You have no context. So the test score acts as the translation layer. The SAT is the best weapon, as the source calls it, because it is a standardized, objective metric.
A universal standard.
Yes. If you score a 1500 on the SAT, it doesn't matter where you came from. That score tells the scholarship committee, this student is analytically strong. This student can handle our coursework. It validates your grades. If you go test optional, you are removing that powerful data point. You are asking them to trust a transcript they don't understand.
That is a crucial warning. So optional is really a luxury for the wealthy or maybe for domestic students. If you can pay full price, maybe they take the risk on you without the score.
That's a good way to put it.
But if you need cash, you need the score to prove you are a safe investment.
Precisely. You have to prove your worth. If you are asking them for $20,000 a year in scholarships, you better give them a reason to give it to you. A high SAT score is a very, very good reason.
Okay, then moving up the ladder, for master's degrees, we have the GRE, and for business schools, the GMAT.
Right. And it's important to remember what these tests are actually measuring. A lot of people get frustrated because they think, I want to study history. Why am I doing math on the GRE? Or I want to study engineering. Why am I writing essays?
It feels disconnected from their major.
It does, but they aren't testing your knowledge of history or engineering. They assume you will learn that in the program. They're testing your raw cognitive horsepower. They're testing analytical writing, verbal reasoning, and quantitative skills. They're testing your ability to think logically under time pressure. Can you construct an argument? Can you analyze data? That applies to history and engineering.
I see. So it's about the underlying skills, not the specific subject matter.
Exactly.
And then the other barrier, the language barrier. This is EnglishVista, after all, so they obviously emphasize this. You cannot survive in a U.S. classroom without strong English. It's not just about chatting, it's about writing academic papers and understanding complex lectures.
It's not just about passing the test, it's about survival. If you get in, but can't understand the professor, you will fail out. It's that simple.
Right.
But regarding the tests themselves, we have the classics. TOEFL and IELTS. Everyone knows them. They have been the gold standard for decades. If you asked someone 10 years ago, those were really the only two options.
But the source highlights a disruptor in the market that is really changing the game.
The Duolingo English test.
It's the owl, the little green owl.
The green owl, yes. This has really shaken things up over the last few years, especially during the pandemic when all the test centers closed down.
So what's the appeal? Why are people switching to it? Is it just because it's an app?
It's all about accessibility. It boils down to two things: convenience and cost. The traditional tests, TOEFL and IELTS, are expensive. They often cost over $200, maybe $250, depending on the country.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. And they require traveling to a specific secure test center, which might be in a different city. So you have to book a hotel, travel, sit in a room with other nervous people. And they take a long time to grade, sometimes weeks.
And Duolingo, what's the difference?
The Duolingo test is significantly cheaper, usually under $50 or $60. You can take it at home on your computer with a webcam, and you get the results in 48 hours.
Okay, that sounds like a no-brainer. Why would anyone take the old ones then?
Well, here comes the but. There is always a but.
There always is.
The caveat the source emphasizes is acceptance. Not every university accepts Duolingo yet. It is gaining ground rapidly. Hundreds, maybe thousands of schools accept it now. But the Ivy Leagues, or some very traditional state schools, or specific departments like law or medicine, might still insist on TOEFL or IELTS.
So you can't just gamble on it.
No. You have to do your homework. You have to check the specific requirements of the specific program you are applying to. You don't want to save $150 on a test only to find out your dream school won't even look at your application because the score isn't valid.
That would be a painful mistake, a very expensive mistake in the long run.
A very painful mistake.
So check the list. Don't just assume because it's cheaper, it works for you. Okay, let's move to the part of the process that I think requires the most creativity. The application packet itself. The source describes this as the art of persuasion, and specifically the SOP, the statement of purpose.
The SOP. This is often the cure for writer's block, or the cause of it. It's usually the hardest part of the application for international students because it requires a style of writing that many cultures don't teach.
What do you mean by that?
In many places, you are taught to be humble, to hide your achievements. The SOP asks you to do the exact opposite.
The source uses a beautiful analogy here. They call the SOP a love letter to the university.
But a professional one. We don't want rose petals in the envelope.
Yes, keep it professional, no perfume on the paper. But the point is, it needs to be personal and passionate. A lot of students make the mistake of just turning their SOP into a paragraph version of the transcript.
Right.
They write, I got an A in math. I got an A in science. I was president of the chess club.
Which is completely redundant because the university already has your transcript. They know you got an A in math. They can read. They don't need you to list your grades again.
So what do they need? What are they looking for?
They need an explanation of who you are. The SOP is where you connect the dots. It is where you explain the why. Why this degree? Why now? Why us? Why are you the person who needs this specific education?
The source gave a really specific example, the village example, to illustrate the difference between a bad story and a good story. I think this really helps crystallize what good looks like.
Yes, this was great. So let's look at a bad, or let's say generic, SOP. It says something like, I was born in a village. I love science. I have always been fascinated by how things work. I want to study engineering.
Okay, sounds fine. A little boring, maybe?
It's a nice sentiment. It's polite, but it's passive. It doesn't tell me anything about your drive or your potential impact. It sounds like a million other people.
So it just blends in. What does the good version look like?
The good version takes that same background, but adds agency and purpose. It says, I saw a problem in my village. Maybe it was water quality or lack of electricity. I watched my community struggle with this specific issue.
So it starts with the problem.
It starts with a problem. I realized that science was the solution to that problem. And that is why I need this specific degree from your university to gain the skills to go back and fix it.
Oh, that is completely different vibe.
It creates a narrative arc.
Right.
It connects the past, the village and the problem, to the present, the realization and the passion, to the future, the degree and the solution. It frames the university not just as a school where you sit in class, but as a necessary partner in your life's mission. You're saying, I cannot fix this water problem without your help.
It's so much more persuasive. It makes the admissions officer feel like if they reject you, they are stopping a problem from being solved. You're making them a character in your hero's journey.
Exactly. Raises the stakes. You aren't just asking for a seat in a class. You are asking for tools to change the world. That is how you get admitted, and that is how you get scholarships. They want to invest in change makers.
And backing up that SOP, we have the LRR's letters of recommendation. The source calls these endorsements.
They are social proof.
Right.
You can say you are brilliant in your SOP, but of course you would say that. You're biased. It means a lot more if a professor with a PhD, someone who has seen thousands of students, puts their reputation on the line and says, this student is brilliant.
But there was a very specific warning, a pro tip that the source gave regarding these letters, and it's something that I think happens a lot more than people admit, especially in certain regions where professors are overwhelmed.
The write-it-yourself trap.
Yes.
Yes. In some cultures, professors are very busy or perhaps not comfortable writing in English, so they tell the student, you write it, bring it to me, and I'll sign it.
It seems efficient. The student gets to say what they want. The professor saves time.
It seems like a win-win.
But the source is very clear. Do not do this. Why? Can they really tell? I mean, if I write it really well.
Yes, they can tell. 100%. Universities read thousands of these. They have software and experienced readers who know what a student sounds like, and they know what a professor sounds like.
So the voice is different.
The voice is totally different. A professor writes with a certain distance and objectivity. They use specific academic phrasing. A student writing about themselves tends to use different adjectives, different sentence structures. They might be too boastful or, surprisingly, too humble.
And if the writing style in the recommendation letter happens to match the writing style in your SOP.
That is a huge red flag,
Yeah.
a massive one. If your essay and your professor's essay sound like they were written by the same person, it damages your credibility instantly. It looks like you are trying to game the system. It suggests dishonesty.
Yeah, it's a killer.
And remember, American universities are obsessed with academic integrity. If they smell fraud in the application, you are out. No appeal. Game over.
So you have to do the hard work of finding a professor who will actually write it or at least draft it themselves.
Correct. Sit down with them. Give them bullet points of what you did in their class. Remind them of your projects. Remember when I got an A on that final paper about thermodynamics? Make it easy for them to write it, but don't write it for them.
It needs to be an authentic voice.
It has to be an authentic voice vouching for your resilience and your ability to not quit.
Moving on to the elephant in the room. We've talked about timing, exams, essays, and recommendations, but none of that matters if you can't pay the bill. And let's be honest, U.S. education is notoriously expensive. We see the headlines. The student debt crisis.
It is the most expensive higher education system in the world. Sticker prices can be shocking, $50,000, $60,000 a year or more for tuition and living expenses. For many international families, converting that to their local currency, it is simply impossible. It looks like a fortune.
It's astronomical, but the source immediately pivots to the solution, specifically for master's and PhD students. They talk about assistantships. This seems to be the holy grail of funding.
It is. This is the unique feature of the U.S. system. You don't see this as much in the U.K. or Australia. The concept of the graduate assistantship. There are two main types: TA, teaching assistant, and RA, research assistant.
How does the deal work? Is it a loan? Do you have to pay it back later?
No, it is a job. That is the best way to think about it. The university hires you. As a TA, you might grade papers, lead discussion sections for undergrads, hold office hours, or even teach a basic class like Econ 101. As an RA, you work in a lab, run experiments, clean test tubes, or help a professor with their research publications.
So you're working for the university, and what's the payment?
In exchange for this work, usually about 20 hours a week, the university does two amazing things. First, they waive your tuition.
So the tuition bill just goes to zero.
Tuition goes to zero. That $50,000 bill disappears. You don't pay for classes.
That's huge already. That's life-changing.
But wait, there's more. And this is the kicker. They give you a monthly stipend, a salary to cover your rent, your food, and your bills.
Wait, so they pay your tuition and they give you a salary?
That's the deal. It's not a fortune. You won't be driving a Ferrari, but it is enough to live on.
That really is the dream scenario, isn't it? You are studying for free and getting paid to do it.
It is. And the source emphasizes that this isn't some lottery ticket that only one person wins. This isn't winning the Powerball. Thousands of students do this every single year.
Wow.
The entire U.S. research engine runs on the backs of graduate assistants. Universities need TAs to grade papers. They need RAs to run labs.
So it's a symbiotic relationship. They need you as much as you need them.
Exactly. But it requires work. You have to apply for these positions just like a job. You have to prove you are useful to the department. You need to show that you have the skills to teach or the skill to do research. You don't just get it because you are poor. You get it because you are valuable.
So it's merit-based work, not a handout.
Exactly. But if you get it, it solves the financial problem entirely. It changes the ROI, the return on investment of the degree completely. Instead of being $100,000 in debt, you graduate with zero debt and a degree.
Incredible. So let's recap where we are. You've navigated the calendar to hit the fall intake. You crushed the exams. You avoided the test optional trap. You wrote the love letter SOP and got authentic recommendations. You secured the assistantship money. You are ready to go. You have the I-20 form in your hand. But there's one final boss.
The visa interview.
The source calls this the final boss battle, which feels so appropriate. It's the last gatekeeper.
It really is.
And what's shocking is the duration. We spend 15 months preparing, studying, writing, and this interview lasts.
How long? Often just 2 minutes. Maybe 3, sometimes even less.
That is terrifying. 2 minutes to determine the fate of the last 2 years of your life. All that work hangs on a 120-second conversation with a stranger behind a glass window.
It is extremely high pressure. The consular officer has to make a snap judgment. They see hundreds of people a day. They are tired. They are cynical. And the source simplifies this beautifully. They aren't looking for your life story. They don't want to hear about your childhood. They're looking for exactly 2 things.
Okay, what are they?
Number 1, are you a genuine student?
Meaning?
Meaning, do you know what you are studying, why you are studying it, and do you have the academic capacity and the financial means to succeed? They want to make sure you aren't just using the school as a way to get into the country for other reasons. They want to know you are actually going to go to class.
Okay, that makes sense. And number 2?
Do you plan to return home?
This is the sticky one. This is where people trip up, isn't it?
This is the trap. The U.S. visa structure for students, the F1 visa, is legally classified as a non-immigrant intent visa. That is the legal term. By law, to qualify for it, you must intend to leave the U.S. after your studies are finished. You must have ties to your home country.
So what happens if a student, trying to be honest, gets asked, what are your plans after graduation? And they say, well, I love America and I hope to get a job at Google and live in San Francisco forever.
Rejection.
Yeah.
Immediate. On the spot.
Even if they are brilliant, even if they have a full scholarship from Stanford, even if Google would love to hire them.
Doesn't matter. They have just admitted to immigrant intent on a non-immigrant visa. The officer is legally required to deny them. It's not personal. It's the law. The officer can't say, oh, I like you, I'll let it slide. They have to follow the statute.
So the strategy, and the source is careful here, is about honesty, but a focused honesty.
Correct. You focus on the education and the value it brings to your home. You explain how this degree will help you in your home country.
Give me an example of what that sounds like. A good answer.
The good answer sounds like this. I am going to learn these advanced computer science skills at MIT so I can bring them back to Brazil and build my career there, because the tech sector in Sao Paulo is booming, and I want to be part of that growth.
So you're tying the U.S. education directly back to your future in your home country.
That is the answer they need to hear to approve the visa.
It's a tightrope walk. You have to sell your ambition, but frame it geographically within your home country.
Exactly. You have to show that the U.S. is a place you visit to get superpowers, but your home is where you will use them. Even if legally you might be allowed to work in the U.S. later through other visas like H-1B, for this interview, your intent must be to return.
Wow. So we have covered a massive amount of ground here. We've gone from the fall spring calendar logic through the 15-month marathon, the test optional trap, the love letter SOPs, the assistantship golden ticket, all the way to that 2-minute visa interview.
It is a lot. It's overwhelming just to talk about it, let alone do it.
The host and the source, Alex, and the expert, Sarah, they really emphasize that while it is a lot, it has to be taken one step at a time. You can't panic about the visa when you haven't even taken the GRE yet.
No.
You can't panic about the SOP when you haven't picked a school.
That's the wisdom in the deep dive approach.
Sure.
When you look at the whole mountain, it's scary. It looks unclimbable. But when you break it down, okay, this month is for vocab, next month is for the SOP draft, it becomes manageable. It becomes a series of small, achievable tasks rather than one impossible one.
I want to ask you to reflect on this for a second, and I want the listener to reflect too. We've laid out the academic hurdles, like the exams, and the bureaucratic hurdles, like the visa. Which one do you think is actually more daunting for the average applicant?
Oh, that's a great question.
Is it the fear of not being smart enough for the test, or the fear of saying the wrong thing to a government official in a glass booth?
I think for many, the bureaucracy is scarier. It just is. Because it feels less in your control. You can study for a test. If you study hard, your score generally goes up. The linear relationship, more or less, effort equals results.
Right, it's predictable.
But the visa interview, it feels subjective. It feels like it depends on the mood of the officer. Did they have a bad lunch? Are they cranky? It feels arbitrary, and that's what's scary.
True, but this guide gives you the best possible armor against that. It turns the arbitrary into a strategy. It tells you what they want to hear.
It does. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, what is this process actually doing? Why is it so hard? Why doesn't the U.S. just make it easier?
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. The U.S. application process demands that you plan years in advance. It demands that you prove your intelligence through rigorous testing. It demands that you self-reflect deeply to write an SOP. And it demands that you can articulate your purpose clearly in a high-pressure interview.
So it's not just paperwork, it's a test in itself, a filter.
No.
No.
The application process itself is the first test of the education. It is testing your character. It is testing your planning, your grit, your self-awareness, and your composure.
I've never thought of it that way.
It's not just about getting in, it's about proving you are the kind of person who can survive and thrive in that environment. By the time you sit on that plane, you have already passed a massive test of character. You are already different than when you started. You have leveled up just by applying.
That is a fascinating way to look at it. You aren't just applying for a degree, you are proving you are ready for the life that comes with it.
Exactly. The process is the preparation.
Well, on that note, we are going to wrap up this deep dive into the world of U.S. admissions. A huge thanks to the EnglishVista source material for providing such a detailed, step-by-step roadmap. It really is a goldmine.
It really is.
For everyone listening, whether you are planning to apply for 2026 or just helping a friend, or maybe you're just glad you never have to take the SAT again, good luck. It's a marathon, but the finish line looks pretty sweet. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next deep dive.
Goodbye, everyone. Keep planning and keep dreaming.